What is up, guys? In today's video, we're going to be talking about certifications for water damage restoration. What do you need? What can you get? What did I get? What's the order, etc. If you stick around in this video, not only are we going to talk about what certifications you got to have, we're going to be talking about what I think you should get and in what order. Let's go. Okay, guys, so as we get started, I want to say this first and foremost. If you're going to be in water damage restoration, you need to know what you're doing. At the time of this recording, there's not any national federal mandates or laws. There's not a license that you get to do water damage restoration. Does that make sense? But there are certifications, okay? There's not a license, but there are certifications. Some of your states may mandate you do this or that. For instance, most every state will make you take a test to be a plumber. That's a state mandated test. As far as I know, at the time that we make this recording right here in 2023, there aren't any state mandated tests for water damage restoration. There are for mold. There are a few states that make you get a license for mold, but not for water damage. And I don't know that that couldn't change at some point, but I'm just telling you right now today, that's not a thing. Regardless if it is a thing, it's your responsibility to find out what you need to do business in that state. That is your responsibility, not mine. Is that clear? But what I want to share with you is there are certifications on what you need to do to know what you're doing. Like, my question for you is this: do you know how to dry out a house? Have you been formally trained? That's what we're going to be talking about. What are the certifications? So there is an institute, it's the iicrc, the Institute of Inspection, Cleaning and Restoration Certification. That's what the iicrc stands for. Institute of Inspection, Cleaning and Restoration Certification. It's like medical school for restoration. And I'll put a link to the iicrc in the video somewhere. There is going to be certain certifications that you're going to need. So here's what I'm going to tell you. First and foremost, you're going to want and need your water certification. This is your water damage restoration technician. This is going to be step one, okay? You're going to want and you're going to need this one. Let me tell you this. They have two types of things. They have a water certification and an ASD. ASD is applied structural drying. The water certification is like the book test, and the ASD is kind of like lab work and field work. At least my understanding, unless they've changed it, the ASD will come with a flood house. You'll go somewhere, they'll flood down the house, and then you will actually dry it out. That's kind of what applied structural drying is. I would suggest that you do both. I'm gonna be honest with you, I only did one. Here's the reason why I only did one. I was already running $1 million company. I was really busy already. We bolted restoration onto that vertical, okay, of being a contractor, and I didn't want to take an entire week off work. There is a flood house in Nashville. I recommend most people go to Reach Drying Academy, etc. If you want to get into restoration, let me tell you this before you do anything else. Go to workwithshane.com. We have a pre-launch program, and I will walk you through all of this stuff. Here's the biggest problem that I think most people are going to make when they launch the restoration company or want to get into it. You spend money that you don't have on stuff you don't need. So if you're thinking about doing that right now, I'm just timing out and telling you go through that pre-launch course. In that course, I show you what you need first, which is your certifications, where to go to get your certifications, and the moisture meter. And then I have a series of other trainings that you will find relevant. There are probably questions you're asking yourself, and you're most likely asking yourself questions that you don't need to worry about right now. You're most likely asking yourself questions for stuff that you don't need to worry about right now, okay? Not that it's not relevant, it's just not relevant right now. Does that make sense? Let's say that you're pregnant, you got a baby on the way. Getting diapers matters, but if the baby's not here, you don't need the diapers yet. You're eventually gonna need a car for the baby when they grow up to drive, but you don't need to go shopping for the car now. Mom's still pregnant, okay? There's what you need and there's when you need it. If you're about to go spend some money, go to our pre-launch program, because I don't want you spending a bunch of money. Now, otherwise, let's get back to the certifications. Sorry about my tangent. WRT, that is going to be a 2-day course. I think it's like $500 or $600. That's where you're going to go through the S500, and there's a standard of care. The S500 is a book that you can buy. When you go to the iicrc, there's going to be standards right here, and standards and field guides. You go right there, okay? And there's going to be a series of standards, and we're looking for the S500 right here. Standard for Professional Water Damage Restoration, published first in 2021. And if you click on here, I think it's like $100, $150, something like that, but you can buy it right here off the website. The S500 is what you're gonna need. Guys, when I went to go do my water damage jobs, I had my book with me under my seat, and I just took it with me, okay? So you're gonna want and need a copy of the S500. Make sure that you get that, okay? Now, so you're gonna need at least your water certification. I'm gonna tell you to go get your ASD as well. They're like $1,500 for both. And if you've never dried out a house, why wouldn't you want to go dry one out? Go do it in a controlled environment. If you're doing your first water job for a client and they're staring at you, that's nerve-wracking, right? So just go to the ASD house. Go to the ASD house. and I think you'll enjoy that. So water, WRT, ASD, applied structural drying. Those are the two that you're going to need at the very least, okay? So what are some of the other ones that they've got? If you're going to get a restoration, they do cover some mold in the S500 and in your water class, okay? So you don't need to go through your mold training unless you're actually just going to be doing bona fide mold. And I would suggest this, unless that's all you're really doing, like the AMRT is fine, but like I'm just telling you, I think the water is going to be sufficient unless you're going to be doing mold for sure, okay? Under a certain amount, they teach you how to handle mold anyway. You can go do the AMRT if you want, but that needs to be your third one. I did the fire and the smoke and odor control and all that stuff. If you're gonna do fire, you need to do that. It's a very complicated thing, but like, I don't know what this one is. The Building Moisture Inspection Program, I don't know what that is. I have no idea. I can't really quite understand why you would create that product. Some of these are relatively new, I guess. Let's see what it says here. In person only, so it's probably like, using thermal imagery. I don't know why they probably do all that in the ASD. I don't know what they're trying to accomplish there, but just know this. They should have already taught you that in the water or the ASD, because if not, then they're teaching you to be ill prepared. Does that make sense? Like the WRTs where you're going to send your technicians, you, the owner, need to go through the WRT, and I would tell you need to go through the ASD as well. Okay, go through those two. And then I wouldn't go through the mold unless you're actually going to be doing mold. Those two are going to be sufficient for you. Go through those two first and then come back to me. Does that make sense? At that point, you will have enough experience or enough training to be prepared to do your first water job. Does that make sense? So let's go back and let's look at a couple other things they've got. Commercial drying. Guys, I didn't go do a commercial drying class, but I can tell you this, commercial jobs are way different than residential. I mean, I was a licensed general contractor, so you got to keep in mind, like, I've built hundreds of homes from the ground up and commercial construction too, so like, I'm very familiar with the components. But if you're not a contractor by trade, a GC by trade, and you're going to intend on doing any commercial work, just know this, commercial work's way different. And it's mostly different because the structures are built different. They're framed different. Water gets trapped in different places. Some things can be dried out, some can't be dried out, which brings me to another point. Drying trailers, mobile homes, is far, far different than drying a standard single-family resident structure. The materials in a trailer are cheap, and they had a lot of glue in them, and like when you go to the ASD, it's a flood house, it ain't a flood trailer. Here's what I'll tell you, in terms of restoration, your water should be sufficient. There is another one that they have now, trauma and crime scene. I didn't go through that because they didn't have it. I think that thing came out in 2017. We were already doing trauma by then at that point. But look, anytime that you plan on doing this stuff, I can't see a situation where you wouldn't want to go get certified. Anytime you're doing any of these, I don't know why you wouldn't want to go get certified. You will learn a lot, okay? Now, you don't have to have your WRT or ASD. It's not illegal. It's just dumb not to. I'm gonna say that again. It's not that you can't start a business without doing those. It's not illegal. It's just not smart. Are we clear? So what I would tell you is this. Go get your water certification. Go get your ASD. If you have any questions and you're watching this and you're gonna go do that, go to our pre-launch program first. Go to workwithshane.com and we'll tell you about it, okay? Because otherwise, I can promise you, you're probably gonna go to the wrong place. You're gonna get the wrong training, and they're going to tell you a bunch of stuff when you get to the training that might warp your mind. And I'm going to be honest with you, in restoration, these people have tried to turn this into rocket science, guys. I'm a professional, okay? But at the end of the day, you're taking it from wet to dry. You were taking it from wet to dry. That is your job. Are we clear? From wet to dry. Don't forget that, okay? They're going to try and make it much more complicated, and when you make it much more complicated, you're going to overthink it, and you're just going to miss the mark, okay? You're going to miss the mark. So hopefully that's helpful. If you have any other questions, reach out to me and let me know. Go to workwithshane.com. We will see you guys in the next video. Hey guys, if you enjoyed that video, I've got 3 things for you. Number 1, if you haven't yet, click on my face below and be sure to subscribe to the channel, okay? We put out new content each and every week. Also, if you want me to help you grow your company, go to workwithshane.com. Workwithshane.com, put in your information, we can get on a call and see how we can help you grow your company. Lastly, there'll be some other videos right here. If you want to watch more content about growing your restoration company, check out one of these videos. We'll see you guys on the next one.